Okay, is everybody ready to start the discussion with Q&A? Cool. Okay, so I'm just going to introduce our panellists. I've got Campbell X here to my right. They are a filmmaker and director of the 2012 film Stud Life, which I'm sure you all know, which won an Independent Spirit Award at the Screen Nation Awards in 2013. You collaborated with Cheryl Dunn on the film The Owls?
I didn't collaborate, I was crew, I was humble crew.
Humble crew, best bit. And you're currently working on a web series called Different for Girls, and also a short film called Desire.
Yeah, an experimental short called Desire, about desire for trans men and female masculinity, and a web series written by Jackie Lawrence, based on her book of the same name, Different for Girls, based on a set of very wealthy LGBT people in West London. So very different to East London.
And on the far right is Direct Jones. Direct Jones has made a few short documentaries, and for many years was a film reviewer and writer for Blessings magazine, for women of colour who love women. Direct's undergraduate degrees in film and media, and her master's is in culture, diaspora and ethnicity, where her research focused on Black British women looking at blaxploitation film. She presented a paper at the National Theatre on her theory and some partial findings of the study. Direct is a curator and film programmer with the London Feminist Film Festival, and her current research includes how Black British lesbians embody their sexuality through film and decolonising cinematic narratives. So that's all brilliant.
I love it.
So I just wanted to kick off by asking a question about one of the themes that really stands out in the film for me, which is about biological family and created family. Created family is obviously really important to a lot of queer people, and it's really important in the creation of identity a lot of the time. And so I want to ask both panellists what their reflections are on the themes of family and created versus biological family in the film. But first, Direct, I'll ask you, as a Black lesbian mother, what your thoughts were on the themes of motherhood.
Sorry.
Hello, Wembley. We're here.
Wembley. What my thoughts are on the themes of motherhood.
Motherhood and family in the film.
Wow. Yeah. It's big. It's big in that film. It's so layered in terms of what motherhood represents. In terms of it being an identity that you choose, as opposed to it's something to do with biology. That film it was about that, but it also wasn't. It was about how women choose to care for others, to care for their children, to claim what's theirs. I think the different roles and the impact of having real people, real women, as part of that group therapy.
Yeah.
It was so powerful because there was a realness to that. You know, that wasn't, it was part of the narrative, but it also wasn't. It was listening to those women talk about being mothers and what that meant for them. You know, at the beginning, Tabs, you said about women who are incarcerated and the ripple effect that has, the impact that has on family or society. Yeah, I think that came out quite strongly in different ways in that film with those people talking, and also how, sorry, I'm going on a bit. And also how, for example, just the dynamics between Kit and Brownie and Treasure, that dynamic of, you know, sibling, you know, and wanting that love, doing anything they can for that love from mother, was also really interesting. I think the way the filmmaker, literally dealt with that issue was very interesting for myself as a mother and a grandmother. Thank you.
That's the right.
Wow. You don't hear our stories, you don't see our stories. As a black lesbian mother, grandmother, you don't hear about that. You don't see that. And that's one aspect of many stories about us that you don't see. And certainly if you break it down even more and talk about British and what British means as a black British lesbian, what that means, and then all the different narratives that I turn up with, you don't see that. And so watching that film, although, yes, it wasn't about British, but there was something, that certainly translated for me in watching that story and how all those different relationships are depicted. There wasn't a sensationalism about it. There wasn't a titillation about it. It was an invitation into seeing something, into sharing something funny, something tragic. You know, I'm going to leave it there because I've been talking about something.
No, I love what you were saying. I thought, I could listen all the time. Yeah. The concept of family, this is like really loud. I'm hearing myself, but anyway. The concept of family, I think, is an interesting one because apart from queer family, because I've seen this film a few times, and some of you here might have seen it when it first screened at what was then called the LMGFF. I don't know if any of you are here who saw it then, because it was, it was mind-blowing actually to see a film of that quality, like on the big screen that it was in 2001, that had so much money thrown at it in a context in which black lesbian work was always like ultrally funded. So for a major broadcaster to have funded a film like that, and to see it up on the big screen then was incredible. So there is family in terms of creative output as well. Looking at other queer people making stuff, making stories about our lives. And family is also about stories of our lives. We tell stories in our biological families which make our lives. But in queer family, there are stories of our lives in a way. And I also thought about diaspora. Sheldon is African American, literally African from Liberia, American, pro-America. And I just thought there were so many things that I'm not from America, but I related to in a kind of African diasporic family. So not just about queer family, the chosen family is also culturally, there are certain things we feel as black diaspora. Culturally, there are certain things we feel as queer community. And I'm always trying to unravel what that thing is. The other thing is, interestingly, it's set in a prison, which seems to be one of the few places where you see lesbian characters now. In mainstream, in mainstream TV, they tend to pop out and then get killed, and then in prison you can see them over a series, over series. But we also have a creation of queer family in terms of the houses, with gay men of color, and they have mothers, house mothers, and the children. One of the slangs for gayness was, "Are you one of the children?" Which I love, that term, which is a very black term for describing us as family. So there are many layers to your question, and there are many layers to the film in terms of that. But also, when you watch things, well, I don't just see what's there, but I see what's behind me in terms of my own history and legacy, and that brought in things to my mind. You know, it's a wonderful film. I really love it.
I mean, yeah, I love what you're saying about being one of the children. And I think as a butch woman, I have a butch mother. She's here.
Where are your mommy at? Stand up and be counted. Mommy. Mommy's hiding.
I know, that's the thing. I know you don't like it. But you know what I mean.
Yeah. Oh my god, I didn't know that. Yay! AJ's in Desire.
AJ's and I know you've always been slightly embarrassed about it, but I know you know I'm coming from a good place with it.
Oh.
And yeah, definitely like the person who took me in and looked after me and fed me and allowed me to have sex with all the wrong people and never told me not to. Was always there at the end of it, that kind of thing. So, but more generally, like taught me how to be, and taught me that it was okay to be that way, and that it was actually really awesome, and that you could have a wonderful, wonderful life with wonderful people in your life as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's really interesting to see in the film that often butch women are, like in the world generally, butch women are seen as something bad, but butchness is seen as something bad, female masculinity is seen as bad, but in the film, and in the context of the prison, it's a really positive thing. It's actually something which is really valued.
Yeah.
It's something which is part of surviving.
Yeah.
And that's just really amazing to see. But as I say, it's a little bit of a shame that it has to be within a prison context again, which kind of leads me to my second question. You touched on it already, Campbell, about why is it that lesbians, and particularly black lesbians, only pop up in prisons?
Because we be criminals.
I mean, when I was young, I really thought you had to go to prison to be a lesbian.
Yeah.
I honestly believe that.
I thought you had to go to a convent. That's where I was at.
So we've got prayers, prisons,
nuns.
or girls' schools. There we go.
Well, I was in that already. It's quite interesting, kind of seeking this all-female kind of.
But I mean, I suppose in terms of like filmmaking generally, you both make films, and like it's a shame that black lesbians pop up in these particular prison contexts in film. Why is that? Where else do they pop up? And how can we kind of disrupt that? I know, you know, you're both probably doing work to try and disrupt that. Should we start with direct?